So just take a moment to adjust yourself and your posture wherever you're sitting. It's a good idea to be able to sit with both feet on the ground, your legs not crossed, unless you're sitting like in half or full lotus. Sit in such a way that you can feel your shoulders above your hips, so your spine is stacked, so that the bottom of your chin is parallel to the floor. So you don't want to like stick your neck out. That puts tension on your neck and on your spine. So making sure that your spine is in nice alignment. And then let's just take a second to roll back our shoulders so that we're opening up the space of the heart. That just allows us to receive so much more easily. And let's just connect with the breath. Really feeling all the parts of the body that move as we take in air and as we release air back out. So we might even exaggerate the breath just a little bit to get started, just to open up our awareness to the mechanics of the body, to feeling our physicality. And then just let yourself fall into a nice, easy rhythm, letting the breath come and go naturally as it does most of the time when we're not paying any attention to it. So let's let our attention now kind of drop into the body so we can feel the weight where we're sitting. Let's just take a moment to feel that pressure point where we're in contact with the cushion or the chair, the couch. Really feeling the body making that connection. Almost as if you could feel the gentle tug of gravity on the body, holding you in place. And we can allow our attention to shift to other parts of the body and the ways that they're in contact with the environment. So we have the weight of the body against the piece of furniture we're sitting on, the cushion we're sitting on. And we can also draw our attention to the weight of our clothing resting on our bodies, perhaps the weight of our hair on our shoulders or a piece of jewelry, just bringing your attention to all these places where your nerve endings have been actively collecting data, but we just don't pay attention to it because there's so much information coming in all the time that we can't pay attention to it all. So now we're just going to slow down and we're going to notice what's the experience of the body in this moment. So we have these heavy pressure points where the body's making contact with another physical object, piece of furniture, a cushion, the floor. And then we have these lighter touches of our clothing, our hair, our jewelry. And then we have lighter still, this very subtle sensation of air on our skin. Can we sense the air moving across our skin? It's easier to sense it if there's a little bit of current in the air or if there's a temperature differential. But even if there isn't, perhaps you can fine tune your awareness to the point where you can sense the air touching your skin. And just do a little body scan and sort of notice what are all the places where you can feel the air around you touching your exposed skin. It might not just be on your arms or your face, maybe your ankles, maybe you're barefoot and it's touching your feet. Just kind of scan through the body and find the areas where you can feel the air, where there's no barrier between you, your skin, and the air. And we can think about those spaces as being kind of less confined. There's some spaciousness around those areas that aren't constricted by contact with furniture or clothing or something pressing against it. There's an openness. And going back to our posture and feeling that erect spinal column from that heavy pressure point where we're sitting, connecting the ground, the earth, going all the way up to the top of our head, so that the spinal column is like a connection between the earth and the sky in a way. Or we could think of it as being a connection between this heavy touch and this light touch. Heavy touch at the base of the spine where you're sitting, traveling up the spinal cord and coming up through the top of the head, and then see if you can sense the space just above your head. We don't have nerve endings in our hair, so we can't feel the air in the same way, but we can get a sense of the spaciousness around the head, above the head. And what would happen if we tried to connect the spinal cord, if we tried to connect the earth and the sky through this posture that we're in by feeling the breath move up and down the spinal cord, almost like you're creating spaciousness in the vertebrae. On the inhalation, you might feel your connection, your heavy touch points, your heavy pressure points. You might feel those deepening, almost like you're pressing into the couch or the chair, the cushion. On the inhalation, and imagine that air traveling up through the spinal cord and up through the top of the head into the spaciousness above you. And then as we exhale, we can imagine and sort of sense the body, the air moving down again, and the body becoming heavier. So just see if you can connect the breath to this concept of being connected to the earth underneath you and to the great sky above you. How does that sensation change on the inhalation or the exhalation. And now let's bring our awareness back to the heavy touch, the heavy pressure points where we're connecting with the solid object beneath us. And let's see if we can maybe challenge some of our concepts here. Because this solid thing that we're sitting on, that we feel that heavy pressure with, that solid thing is made up of molecules, which are made up of atoms. And mostly, it's all made up of air. So we agree to call this thing solid, but in fact, it's just a lot of air. So can we invite the sensation of spaciousness beneath us? Can we imagine that the solid thing that we're sitting on may not quite be so solid because there's a lot of air moving around in there? Can we sense the air underneath us? So, one way to do this is to imagine that you might be sitting on an invisible beach ball. And the beach ball is what's sitting on the couch or the cushion or the chair. But you're actually not making direct contact. You're sitting on the beach ball. Can you get a sense of that space underneath you? Can you feel your body sink into the beach ball so that the heaviness that you feel in your body is not heaviness connecting to the cushion, but heaviness connecting with this spacious void beneath you, made up of air? Connecting with the breath, sensing the spaciousness around us, sensing where air is touching our skin, sensing the space, the openness above our heads. And a little more challenging, but can you get a sense of the spaciousness beneath you so that you are surrounded on all sides by openness and air? And if you have trouble at any point and you find yourself getting caught up in your head and away from the somatic sensation of the body, just pick one place where you feel like you do have a little taste of that spaciousness and let your awareness rest there. If it's hard to grasp the entirety of it, just grab the little nugget that you can sense where you feel some openness. In times of anxiety and stress, we tend to constrict. Things become smaller, more compact. We let go of things in order to focus on survival. So the invitation here is to open up, to feel the expanse, to not collapse in on ourselves, but to allow for an opening, to allow the air to expand us, just as we rolled back the shoulders to open the heart space. We can open all these spaces around us. Feeling the space around us, feeling the space above us, feeling the space of our beach ball. And you might notice internal spaciousness. You might feel the spaciousness between your vertebrae. Certainly, you feel the spaciousness of the air that you draw in with the breath, the lungs expanding, the lungs contracting. And all we're doing is bringing what we consider the outside into the body. The air that we're surrounded with, that spaciousness, that openness. We bring it into the body on the inhalation. With each breath, we can become more and more expansive. We can let all those boundaries and rigid, hard edges we set up for ourselves melt away. We can just melt into this space, this openness, where there's no constriction, there's no scarcity, there's enough. There's more than enough. And here's a fun thing to ponder. When you bring the outside in, when does it stop becoming the outside? When does the air in the room become you? And when you exhale, when does it become the room again? Can we let the illusion of separateness dissolve a bit, just for a minute? We'll pick it back up later. We got stuff to do this afternoon, but for just right now, can we experience that we're not quite so separate? We too are made up of molecules and atoms and a whole lot of space. We only call ourselves by a name as a separate entity. But can we experience as if our skin could melt away and we just become part of this spaciousness beneath us and above us and around us? Just a little glimpse, just a little taste of what life is like without so many rigid boundaries, so many hard edges. A space of abundance. And again, if you find yourself in your head, sort of thinking about this conceptually, bring yourself back to your body and see if you can just connect with one aspect of spaciousness in your somatic sensation. What is one little space where it feels open? And can you use the breath to open it up even just a little bit more, 10% more? Inviting an expansion rather than a constriction. Inviting abundance rather than scarcity. Inviting possibility rather than expectation and foregone conclusion. What might happen here if we could just for a moment let go of the idea of I? If we could just remember that we are no different from the air that we take into our bodies and becomes us at some point. But what if there is no us to become? We're no different than the cushion, the couch, the chair. We are made up of the same stuff that we slap the illusion onto. This is me. This is mine. Can you feel the spaciousness of letting go of I? So, in a moment, we'll be transitioning out of our practice. But I wonder if we could land on something to do with your practice today, something to do with the experience of spaciousness that you might be able to take into the rest of your day. Maybe it has to do with this tension between scarcity and abundance, between constriction and openness. Maybe there's a place in your life that is inviting you to let the boundaries dissolve, to see it a little differently. Maybe there's an invitation to soften some of the I-ness. What can you take with you that you can use as an anchor just to remind yourself a couple times later today that you are not different from the environment. We are not different from one another. We are all made of the same stuff, which Shakespeare said much more eloquently. So let's just invite our awareness to come down off of our beach ball and to feel once again the heaviness of our bodies on our cushion, to sense once more the weight as we press in to the furniture, to accept the solidity of what we're sitting on once more. This agreed on thing that we call solid. Let's just allow ourselves to reconstruct our boundaries, feeling our skin, feeling our sense of separateness. Perhaps a better way to say that is our sense of sovereignty. But knowing that that's an illusion, we can step away from that, knowing that that's an illusion, a very useful one that we construct to get through the practicalities of the day. But there's another way to view it. Perhaps inviting a little wiggle into your fingers and your toes. And let's just take 3 breaths together. And as we do, let's offer anything that's been useful in our practice to all those out there who are suffering right now, to all those who may be living in fear or feel lost or feel unloved, to all those who let that isolation turn into anger and rage and violence. Let's see if we can offer them just a little relief, a little compassion through our exhales together. And let's remember that our practice is about helping us to get to uncover all that is obscuring our true nature of love. And that's the place we're trying to live our lives from. And that's the place we're trying to love from.